what if the massive, exhilarating dopamine rush you get from writing down your New Year's resolutions is actually the exact biological mechanism that guarantees you will quit by February?
I mean, it's a terrifying thought,
That
right?
really is. But, like, picture this. It's January 1st. You have a brand new, pristine notebook sitting on your desk.
Oh, and you've got a fancy pen to go with it, obviously.
Obviously. You sit down, filled with this absolute surge of motivation, and you write out a massive list. You are going to wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym daily, learn a new language, launch a side hustle, and just completely reinvent your entire existence.
Right, the whole new year, new me package.
Exactly. But then, fast forward to the second week of February, that pristine notebook is, well, it's buried under a pile of mail. The side hustle is a distant memory,
Yeah.
and you were just feeling this incredibly heavy, familiar sense of guilt. We have all been there.
Yeah, we really have. And worse than that, when that February slump hits, our immediate reaction is internalized self-blame.
Oh, complete.
The default narrative is always, I just don't have enough discipline, or I'm just lazy. But the breakdown we are exploring today completely shatters that assumption.
Yeah, it argues that the problem isn't your willpower at all. The problem is a fundamentally flawed, culturally inherited system that practically engineers failure.
It sets you up to fail from day one.
Right. So to rebuild a system that actually works, we are pulling from a fantastic analysis of a book called The Ultimate Goals Handbook. And this comes to us via the YouTube channel Book Insider.
It's a great breakdown.
It really is. The mission of our deep dive today is to basically deconstruct why traditional, hustle culture goal setting is essentially a biological and psychological trap.
And we're going to replace it with a sustainable 5-step framework, one that actually balances high achievement with genuine life fulfillment.
Which means we really need to look under the hood here.
Yeah, we'll explore the mechanics of the system, sure, but more importantly, we're going to dive into the neurology behind it.
Right, because we need to understand how the human brain actually processes ambition.
Exactly. Why we instinctively sabotage our own progress, and how you can start working with your neurology instead of constantly, exhaustingly fighting against it.
Okay, let's unpack this from the very foundation, which requires us to completely redefine what success even looks like. I mean, society basically hands us a script from day one, right?
Oh yeah. Build your career, maximize your income.
Right. And once you have the impressive title and the nice house, your life is quote-unquote set.
But the handbook points out a glaring contradiction there.
Yeah, we all know, or at least we've read about people who are incredibly wealthy but are just completely miserable.
They are chronically stressed, deeply lonely, or, their physical health is just completely falling apart.
So the material introduces this concept of the 12 life area system. It basically argues that human beings are not linear machines designed for a single output.
Like generating revenue.
Right, exactly. We are highly complex ecosystems. Life is broken down into 12 interdependent categories. Things like health, mind, emotions, relationships, spirituality, energy, purpose, finance, and fun.
If you imagine this as a physical structure, say like a building, and
Right.
you only reinforce one single pillar, like your career,
While letting the foundation of your physical health just rot away.
right, and the load-bearing walls of your relationships crumble, that building is going to collapse. It honestly doesn't matter how beautiful that single reinforced pillar looks.
Okay, I'm looking at this list of 12 areas, and honestly, from the perspective of a busy professional, it gives me massive anxiety.
I get that. It sounds like a lot.
It is. If I am already drowning in my career, telling me I also need to systematically optimize my spirituality and my fun feels like you're just adding more chores to my endless to-do list.
Right.
I mean, in a world obsessed with productivity, shouldn't things like fun take a back seat until the actual work is done? Why does the author elevate it to a core life area?
Well, it feels like an added burden because hustle culture trains us to view things like sleep and enjoyment as currencies that we can trade for output.
Oh, like if I sacrifice my weekend, I buy more success.
Exactly. But the neurological reality is entirely different. Living under continuous, unrelenting pressure floods your system with cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Right. And over time, that chronic stress makes a person emotionally and cognitively dry. The brain fundamentally requires periods of recovery to consolidate information and restore executive function.
So it's not about slacking off. It's about strategic maintenance.
Precisely. The author advocates for controlled enjoyment, deliberate hobbies, laughter, disconnection. These activities actually boost your cognitive bandwidth.
Wait, really? They boost it?
Yeah. When you recharge properly, you return to your work with sharper focus and significantly better problem-solving abilities. People today feel guilty watching a movie or spending an evening with friends because they view it as wasted time.
Right, the whole I should be grinding mentality.
Exactly. But without that neurological recovery, you aren't being productive, you're just accelerating your own burnout.
And the material emphasizes physical health in the exact same way, doesn't it? It pushes back hard against that grind now, fix it later mentality.
Oh, definitely.
Mhm.
High achievers know health is important, but we ignore it because we treat our bodies like cars that we can just send to the shop later.
Right. But the reality is the damage from 10 years of sleep deprivation and chronic cortisol isn't something you can just buff out.
No, it alters your biology. If your body isn't healthy, the sensory and emotional enjoyment of all your other achievements is severely diminished.
You can't enjoy the money if you're too sick to get out of bed.
Exactly. Constant anxiety and physical exhaustion destroy your capacity for happiness,
Right.
regardless of what your bank account looks like. So this 12-area system acts as a diagnostic mirror.
It forces you to look honestly at your life and realize that true success is maintaining the entire ecosystem.
Right.
So for you listening right now, a great immediate takeaway is to rate your life honestly across these areas. Look at your physical health, your closest relationships, your finances, your sense of daily purpose.
Give them a realistic rating out of 10.
Yeah. And the area where you score the absolute lowest, that is your hidden vulnerability. That is the leak in your roof that will eventually cause the ceiling to cave in.
But, identifying those weak spots leads to a very predictable psychological trap.
What do you mean?
Well, once people do that audit and see that their health is a 3 out of 10, their relationships are a 4, and their finances are a 5, they panic. The immediate reflex is to try and overhaul the entire ecosystem overnight.
Which brings us perfectly to the next core concept, how to avoid that exact meltdown. If we have 12 complex areas of life, trying to fix all of them simultaneously is just biologically
Addison's
impossible.
recipe for disaster.
Totally. To solve this, the handbook explicitly rejects the improve everything together approach. Instead, it demands only one meaningful goal per category.
Yeah, it's a brilliant mechanism for curing scattered attention. A common analogy used here is standing in front of 12 closed doors.
Right, I love this analogy.
If you spread your weight and try to push on all 12 doors at the exact same time, you are exerting a massive amount of energy, but the force is too dispersed. Nothing opens.
But if you channel all of that effort into just one door,
It swings wide open. Exactly.
there is a great story in the breakdown about a guy named Erev that illustrates this perfectly. Erev looked at his life, realized it was a mess across multiple categories, and decided to change everything in a single month.
There we go.
Right. He committed to waking up at 5 a.m., doing heavy workouts, meditating, launching an e-commerce business, reading 2 books a week, eliminating all processed food, and quitting social media cold turkey.
It's the classic New Year's trap, just doing way too much.
Exactly. For 3 days, Era felt like a superhuman. By day 5, he slept through his alarm and missed the gym. Then the shame crept in.
Of course it did.
By the end of the month, the cognitive load was so heavy that he abandoned the entire list and felt significantly worse than when he started.
Yeah, that's so common.
But then, Erev completely shifted his strategy. He picked just one incredibly simple goal in his health category, a 30-minute daily walk. That's it. Not a crazy keto diet, not a CrossFit membership, just a walk.
And this is where we need to look at the dopamine trap we mentioned earlier. When Erev made that massive, unrealistic list initially, his brain's reward center lit up.
Because it felt like he was accomplishing something.
Right. The brain struggles to differentiate between planning a grand achievement and actually doing it. So he got a massive dopamine spike just from writing the list.
Wow.
But when Monday morning hit, the executive function required to juggle 7 new habits caused total cognitive overload, leading to paralysis. The human brain is not a multitasking processor. It thrives on extreme clarity.
So by reducing his goal to a simple 30-minute walk, Erev removed the mental friction.
He bypassed the paralysis completely.
And it created a natural domino effect.
Yeah.
Because he was walking every day, he naturally started getting deeper sleep. Because he had more energy from the sleep, he found himself naturally choosing slightly better food.
It compounded.
Exactly. Eventually, that stabilized foundation gave him the actual mental bandwidth to add one career goal learning a new skill for an hour a day. It's a lot like consuming information, actually.
How so?
Well, imagine trying to listen to 12 amazing podcast deep dives simultaneously. You wouldn't learn a single thing. It would just be an overwhelming wall of noise. But if you listen to one at a time, you actually absorb, process, and retain the knowledge.
That is a great comparison. That cognitive bandwidth is everything. When you radically reduce your priorities, your daily decision-making becomes almost effortless.
You aren't constantly fighting yourself.
Right. You aren't wasting precious mental energy negotiating with yourself about what you should be doing. You just execute the one clear objective.
Okay, so you've audited your 12 areas, you've cured your scattered attention, and picked just one goal per category. The immediate trap people fall into next is confusing motion with action.
Oh, this is a huge one.
How do we know the actions we are taking to reach that goal are actually working and not just busy work designed to make us feel productive?
This is the danger of what the material calls fake productivity. It is so incredibly easy to fall into this illusion today because we are surrounded by apps, tools, and platforms that make us feel like we are organizing our lives.
When really we are just hiding from the actual work.
Exactly. Book Insider shares the story of Karan to highlight this. Karan decided he wanted to get into incredible physical shape.
Okay.
So he went out and bought the premium running shoes. He ordered the expensive imported protein powders. He spent hours on Spotify curating the perfect, high-energy workout playlists. And he downloaded 3 different complex calorie tracking apps. He felt incredibly productive. But after 3 months, his body composition hadn't changed by a single percentage point.
Not a single pound.
Nothing. His trainer sat him down and asked one brutal, clarifying question. How many days did you actually lift weights?
Oh, man. Karan was busy circling the concept of fitness, but he was completely avoiding the reality of it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's the treadmill analogy from the source. You're sweating, your heart rate is elevated, you feel exhausted, but you are completely stationary.
You're going nowhere.
Exactly. Real progress requires what the author calls needle-moving actions.
It seems to me that we gravitate toward the playlists and the new shoes because it feels psychologically safe.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if I'm organizing my running playlist, I feel like a runner, but I can't fail at making a playlist. Actually, getting under a heavy barbell means I might fail. Is that what's happening neurologically here? Are we just buffering against our fear of failure?
That is exactly what is happening. The amygdala, which processes fear and threat, recognizes that real needle-moving actions are inherently uncomfortable.
They expose us.
Right. They involve a risk of failure, rejection, or physical discomfort. If you want to scale a business, the needle-moving action is usually picking up the phone and making difficult sales calls, or finally launching a product that might get criticized.
Which sounds terrifying.
It triggers vulnerability. So your brain offers a compromise. It says, hey, let's spend 4 hours redesigning the company logo instead.
Ah, fake productivity.
Yep. It provides instant psychological comfort. It feels like work, but its actual impact on revenue is virtually zero.
It's like optimizing your character's outfit in the menu screen of a video game for 3 hours, but never actually starting the main quest.
That is a perfect way to put it.
So Karan drops all the aesthetic fluff. He switches to just 2 uncomfortable needle-moving actions, a grueling 45-minute actual workout, and strict adherence to 8 hours of sleep. 6 months later, his physical transformation was undeniable.
Because he finally did the real work.
Exactly. So the takeaway for you listening is to sit down this week and identify the 2 or 3 core activities that bring actual measurable progress. Identify your needle movers and be absolutely ruthless about cutting the comfortable busy work.
It requires a very uncomfortable level of self-honesty, though. You have to constantly ask yourself, am I doing this task because it's actively moving me closer to my goal? Or am I doing this because it's easy, familiar, and safe?
Right. All right, we're building a really solid framework here. We have our balanced categories. We have our single goals. We know our core, uncomfortable, needle-moving actions.
The foundation is set.
But let's look at reality. We've all had those moments of absolute clarity on a Sunday afternoon where we plan out the perfect week. But by Tuesday morning, it's raining, you're exhausted from a bad night's sleep, and you just want to lie in bed and doom scroll.
Tuesday mornings are rough.
They really are. How does this system survive a random, low-energy Tuesday?
Well, the fatal flaw of traditional goal setting is treating it as a one-time event. Writing a goal down in January is merely setting an intention.
It's just a wish, basically.
Exactly. Maintaining the psychological awareness of that goal over the long haul, amidst the chaos of daily life, is the actual mechanism of success.
This brings us to a strict system outlined in the handbook, the write, review, repeat loop. And here's where it gets really interesting. There's a story about a woman named Saya.
Okay.
Saya was your classic January goal setter. She made the big vision boards, wrote out her dreams, and by mid-February, she was drowning in work stress and had completely reverted to her old habits.
Like clockwork.
So she implemented this loop. First, she wrote the goals down to make them concrete. Then she committed to a daily read of those goals every single morning before checking her phone.
That sequence is vital. It acts as a defense mechanism against the modern attention war.
The detention war.
Yeah. Every notification, every email, every algorithm on your phone is engineered to hijack your focus and dictate your priorities for the day. By reviewing your needle-moving goal every single morning, you are actively programming your subconscious.
You're setting the terms of the day.
Right. You are forcefully telling your brain, this is the primary objective today, before the external world has a chance to scramble your attention.
I love that. But Saya took it a step further. She instituted a weekly action check. Every Sunday, she looked at what she actually did that week. Not what she intended to do, not how busy she felt, but the cold, hard data of what she accomplished.
The raw facts.
Yeah. And then she zoomed out for a monthly reflection to spot broader behavioral patterns. Through this monthly review, Saya realized that her habit of late-night doom scrolling wasn't just a harmless way to unwind.
It rarely is.
It was the exact domino causing her to hit snooze, skip her morning routine, and derail her entire day. Once she saw the pattern in the data, she adjusted her system, and that's when the genuine transformation happened.
A lot of productivity experts use the analogy of an airplane pilot here.
Oh, how so?
Well, when a pilot takes off, they don't just program the coordinates for the destination, take their hands off the yoke and go to sleep.
I would hope not.
Right. Wind currents, weather changes, and turbulence constantly push the aircraft off its intended course. The pilot has to continuously review the instruments and make micro adjustments.
Ah, I see.
That is exactly what the weekly and monthly reviews do for your life trajectory. Furthermore, the weekly review strips away our brain's capacity for self-deception. When you have to look at a blank piece of paper on Sunday and write down that you executed your needle-moving action 0 times, you cannot lie to yourself about your progress.
Okay, I hear that, but I have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Doesn't sitting down every Sunday and meticulously reviewing your failures make you feel terrible? If I look at my week and realize I failed to hit my target 4 out of 7 days, isn't that negative reinforcement just going to crush my motivation completely?
That is a very common and totally understandable fear. But the framework clarifies this beautifully. The review process is not designed to be a moral report card that punishes you.
It's not about guilt.
Not at all. It is a purely diagnostic tool. Think about it like a mechanic plugging a diagnostic computer into a car engine. If it throws an error code, the mechanic doesn't feel guilt or shame.
They don't take it personally.
Exactly. They just use the data to know what needs fixing. When you review your week and see a failure, it gives you the agility to adjust your strategy. Maybe your goal was genuinely too ambitious for your current schedule.
Or maybe the timing was bad.
Right. Maybe trying to work out at 6 p.m. when you are exhausted is the wrong strategy. You adjust the system. You don't agonize over your character. It prevents that all-or-nothing mindset where one bad week makes you feel like a total failure, causing you to quit altogether.
Treat your life like an ongoing experiment, not a test you are constantly failing.
I love that. So that brings us to the final, and arguably the most crucial practical question.
The big one.
Even if you have built the perfect system, you've audited your 12 areas, you have singular goals, you know your needle movers, and you are reviewing the data, daily life is still going to throw a massive, unexpected crisis at you.
It's inevitable.
You are going to get sick. You will have a blowout argument with a partner. You'll have a catastrophic day at the office. What happens to the system then? This is where the concept of obstacle planning before action comes into play. The core philosophy here is that you must proactively plan for failure.
Plan for failure.
Yes. Amateurs rely on perfect conditions and high motivation to get things done. Top performers predict their obstacles and pre-program their responses in advance.
The breakdown illustrates this with a really good story about a guy named Vivon. Vivon desperately wanted to launch a YouTube channel. He bought the lighting, got a good camera, made a content calendar, and was highly motivated.
They had the whole setup.
But after a few weeks, the algorithm wasn't pushing his videos, his views were incredibly low, he got a few nasty comments, and his motivation completely evaporated. So he quit.
which happens to so many creators.
But a year later, he tried again using obstacle planning. Instead of just planning his ideal content schedule, he wrote down a list of if-then scenarios.
Okay, now we're talking.
He wrote, "If my views are terrible for the first month, then I will still post consistently for 90 days before making any judgments. If I come home from work feeling completely exhausted and unmotivated, then I will just shoot and post a rough 60-second short video instead of a highly edited long-form piece."
What's fascinating here is that he took his emotional state entirely out of the execution process.
That's huge.
Most people operate with what psychologists call emotional dependence regarding their goals. If they wake up feeling energetic and optimistic, they go to the gym. If they wake up feeling stressed or anxious, they skip it.
Their progress is tied to their mood.
Exactly. Their long-term progress is held hostage by their short-term mood. What Vivan utilized are technically called implementation intentions.
I want to dig into that because it sounds like a superpower. When we are highly stressed or exhausted, our executive function basically flatlines, right? Is this a way of bypassing that burnout?
Exactly. Under stress, the prefrontal cortex, which is the logical planning part of your brain, loses out to the amygdala, which just wants immediate relief.
It just wants to survive the moment.
Right. If you have a terrible day and you haven't planned for it, your exhausted brain will automatically choose the path of least resistance. Ordering takeout, collapsing on the couch, abandoning the goal.
You've all been there.
But if you have already preloaded your decision, like if I have a terrible day and have zero energy, then I will do a 10-minute stretching routine on the living room floor instead of my full workout. The mental resistance practically vanishes.
Because the decision is already made.
Exactly. You don't have to engage in a willpower battle with yourself. The decision was already made days ago by the calm, rational version of you, not the stressed-out version. You bypass the exhausted prefrontal cortex entirely.
So the takeaway for you is this. Stop just planning your ideal, perfect, sunshine and rainbows routine. Plan exactly what you will do when you oversleep by an hour so the entire day isn't a total wash. Have a predefined, low-friction backup plan for your worst moods.
It builds emotional independence. Your daily actions become dictated by your predetermined system, not the fleeting whims of your feelings.
Okay, we have covered a massive amount of incredibly actionable ground today. Let's synthesize this journey. The ultimate insight here is realizing that a successful life isn't defined by a single metric like a fat bank account. It is a complex, balanced 12-part ecosystem.
Right.
You protect that ecosystem by choosing only one meaningful goal per category to prevent cognitive overload. You focus ruthlessly on the uncomfortable, needle-moving actions and abandon the safety of fake productivity.
Leave playlists alone.
Exactly. You maintain a clinical, write, review, repeat loop to keep yourself honest without guilt. And finally, you use implementation intentions to plan for your own bad moods and inevitable obstacles in advance.
The fundamental truth we're left with is that human potential grows in depth, not in width.
Say more about that.
Well, if you try to run in 12 different directions at once, you will exhaust yourself, burn out your neurology, and go nowhere. But if you maintain focus on a few, carefully selected, deeply meaningful goals, you will experience actual transformation.
So what does this all mean for you right now? I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over. The handbook issues a very potent warning about the danger of mimetic desire or copying goals.
Oh, this is a dangerous trap.
Because we are social creatures, we often just adopt the goals society tells us we should want. The bigger salary, the luxury car, the hundreds of thousands of followers.
Right, the things that look good on paper.
So take a hard look at your current to-do list or your vision board. Ask yourself honestly, how many of these goals are actually yours, designed to cultivate a genuinely fulfilling life for your specific ecosystem? And how many are just there to look good on an Instagram highlight reel or to impress people you don't even like? Are you spending all your limited energy and cognitive bandwidth aggressively climbing a ladder that is leaning against the entirely wrong wall?
It all comes down to radical intentionality versus blind imitation.
Exactly, because when January 1st rolls around again and you are staring down at that brand new pristine notebook, you don't want to just write down another fantasy that fades by February. You want to write down a system you can actually live with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Start your one goal experiment today, find those uncomfortable needle movers, and we will catch you next time.